ambitious budget for New India, as well as a judicious budget for an inclusive India. Ambitious on one hand to lay the foundations of the journey of India under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji towards becoming an economic powerhouse in the world, and a judicious budget on the other hand, with its inclusive nature of सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास. It is the amalgam of India, according to the Prime Minister, that will see her rise on the world stage. This budget was presented in a global environment of great uncertainty, where the world is emerging from a pandemic that has shaken the roots of the world like never before in the last 100 years. Where the world is witnessing a war between Russia and Ukraine. Where the after effects of both of high inflation are ravaging the world. And in this environment of uncertainty, in this environment of global risks, India has steered the path for the world throughout this uncertainty and also through the budget. Under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, in the last 8 years, we have moved from being the 11th largest economic growth center to becoming the 5th largest economy in the world. Under Prime Minister Modi's 8-year leadership, we have doubled the per capita income in our country. Under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, inflation, irrespective of these large volatilities, these large vicissitudes, has been kept completely under control. And just a data point for you, inflation in 2006-07 to 2013-14, under the UPA government, was at an all-time high of 8.7%. And inflation under Prime Minister Modi from 2014-15 till 21-22 is today at 4.67%. And let me underline that 4.67% includes the 2 years of COVID, which experienced 6.6% and 5.1% inflation. So whereas developed countries across the world, from the US to the United Kingdom, are experiencing double-digit inflation, India has successfully, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji, kept inflation under check. Along with this, another very important indicator with regard to inclusivity. If you look at the percentage of extreme poverty, what was left in legacy by the former UPA government at 18.7%, extreme poverty, that today has fallen by 870 basis points to 10% in 2018, It will further decline to 5% by 2030, and it will be almost eradicated to 1.5% by our Shatabdi Kal in 2047. Similarly, the incidence of poverty, which is different from extreme poverty, incidence of poverty in India has declined from 55% in 2005-06 to 16% in 2019-21. So across all indicators, whether it is inflation, whether it is per capita income, whether it is our growth rate, whether it is the level of our economy, India has emerged on the world stage, and India has arrived on the world stage under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Today, merchandise exports in India have grown at roughly 8 to 9%, as opposed to a paltry 1% global average. So we are almost 7-8% beyond what the world average is. We are looking at the emergence of a bright spot in terms of India, and as Prime Minister has always said, Bharat चुनौतियों में अवसर ढूंढता है. Under PM Modi's leadership, India looks for opportunities in challenges, to be able to convert them to her advantage, to be able to grow on the world stage. Now this trajectory, now that we are in the 75th year of our independence, our journey from Amrit Kal onwards to Shatabdi Kal will be based on a very strong blueprint of macro fundamentals, strong fiscal policies, and a targeted focus on growth, including many areas which I will identify with you. The 2023 budget lays the foundation for this growth rate in the years to come. And it's based on Saptarishi, or 7 priorities, to really look at converting India into a Vishwaguru, a world leader. And therefore, there is calibrated spending, there is focus on infrastructure, there is focus on inclusivity, and along with that, a growth for 1.4 billion Indians across the length and breadth of our country. Now let me talk about the first point that I raised, which is inclusivity. Our whole journey from Suraksha to Sashактикаран, security to a process of strengthening. That is the focus of our inclusivity mandate. The PM Awas Yojana has received a 66% increase in funding to 79,000 crores. The focus on empowerment of SAGs. First was the focus on the formation of self-help groups for our Mahilas, for our rural areas. Now is the empowerment of our SAGs, to grow them from nascent SAGs to large enterprises. And therefore the focus on in this budget, from a finance standpoint, on the 81 lakh SAGs across the length and breadth of our country, to be able to upgrade them. We're also putting in place 157 nursing colleges, along with the 157 medical colleges that we have already sanctioned. The education sector has received its highest ever allocation of close to 1,13,000 crores, which has been allotted by the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister. And therefore this is a win-win budget for everyone, where even the salaried class have been made to experience much lower tax rates, which will then spur consumption, will spur demand, and in turn will spur the economy. Now coming to infrastructure. Every rupee spent on infrastructure yields close to about 2.85 rupees in terms of GDP growth. and therefore we have increased for the third year the capex outlay on infrastructure investment to 10 lakh crores from last year's 7.5 lakh crores, an increase of almost 33%, which is close to 3.3% of our GDP. Along with this, we have also given incentives to states by extending their loans, their 50-year loans by 1 year, so that they can invest in capex from a state perspective as well. So it's a full federal step where the center and the states have both been pushed to make sure that we increase capex in our country. So along with the states, that percentage of GDP goes from 3.3% to almost 4.75%. Now, if you look at sectoral allocations, railways, the budget has been multiplied almost 9 times to close to 2.4 lakh crores compared to the budget in 13-14. So it's almost a 10-time jump. The thrust on infrastructure. For roads, in the 10 years of the last government, from 2004 to 2014, 10 years cumulative, 1,16,000 crores was spent on roads. In the 9 years of Prime Minister Modi's government, we have allocated close to 15,60,000 crores to the road and highway sector alone, which means an increase of almost 860%. Likewise, our track record for execution. So one is the issue of outlays. The other is the issue of outcomes. In the UPA regime, the rough average would be the building of close to 12 kilometers of roads per day. And under the NDA government, led by Prime Minister Modi ji, we have built almost 40 kilometers of roads per day. So almost a 3.5 multiple in terms of execution capability. Along with this, as I mentioned, airports, in the function that I just had, in 67 years of India's independence, we had built 74 airports in the country. And in the last 8.5 years, we have built 73 new airports, waterdromes, and heliports. So we've gone from 74 to 147. We are one short of doubling the number. And the 148th airport will be also completed in this month itself, which means that what India took 66 or 67 years to build under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that has been done in a period of 9 years. And this target will go ahead of 200 airports, waterdromes, and heliports in the next 5 to 6 years. Along with this, another 50 additional airports, waterdromes, and heliports have been sanctioned in the budget. Under UDAN, we were building 100 airports. We will now build 150 airports, waterdromes, and heliports in the next couple of years to come. Along with this, in the area of metros, which is important for Chennai as well. Until 2014, we had built metros in only 5 cities, 248 kilometers. In the last 8 years, we have built metros in 20 cities, almost 845 kilometers. And in the next couple of years, we are building metros in another 7 cities. As I mentioned, the same is the story with railways, with a 9-time greater allocation of 2.4 lakh crores and close to 75 Vande Bharat trains, which will be flagged off at a high speed of 160 kilometers per hour. If we look at the sector of power, till 2014, 67 years, India had an installed capacity of 200 gigs. Today, in a period of 9 years, we have doubled that to close to 410 gigs of power, which means 410,000 megawatts of power. Average power availability in 2015 across the length and breadth of India was 12 and a half hours. That power availability in India today is close to 22 and a half hours. So almost again 24-hour availability. Along with this, we have also concentrated on India being a Vishwaguru, a world leader. The International Solar Alliance, pioneered by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the French President, bringing almost 100 countries together, of which India hopes to contribute 100 gigawatts in renewable power. We're also looking at a green transition. The world today has finite resources, and therefore the green agenda is on top of the Prime Minister's mind. And we have committed close to about 35,000 crores towards that green transition. Tamil Nadu also stands to benefit from that, because Tamil Nadu is one of the largest contributors to renewables in the country. On fiscal discipline, which is at the core of any budgetary exercise, keeping in mind the extenuating circumstances and the extreme thrust on capex, our fiscal deficit has still been kept at close to 6.4% of GDP. Next year's target is close to 5.9%, and in FY26, financial year 26, we are targeting close to 4.5%, coming well within the targets that we had set for ourselves in the FRBM Act, the Fiscal Responsibility Management Act, which is mandated by Parliament. For Tamil Nadu also, there are tremendous advantages that are in place in the budget. On the one hand, with regard to share of central taxes, though in the budgetary exercise of Tamil Nadu, 33,000 crores had been allocated for, in the RE, the revised estimate from the centre, close to 38,000 crores will devolve to Tamil Nadu in terms of its share of central taxes. This is for FY 22-23. For 23-24, that target of 38,000 crores will be increased by roughly another 10% to close to 41,670 crores. And therefore, that growth perspective of making sure that India moves together is very much at the core of Prime Minister Modi's thought process, which is executed in the budget. Tamil Nadu also has a very thriving MSME ecosystem, medium and small scale and medium micro enterprises. And within the MSME sector, a revamped credit guarantee scheme of close to 9,000 crores has been kept in this budget, of which a tremendous amount of advantage will also come to Tamil Nadu. It is our resolve that our MSMEs in India prosper and proliferate and become the MNCs that eventually concentrate on Make in India as well as Make for the World. So therefore, in a nutshell, an inclusive program, a growth-oriented program that will transfer and translate India in her journey from Amrit Kal to Shatabdi Kal, moving away from the long shadows of the past with an agenda of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, or Sabka Prayas. That, in essence, is the core of the budget, a budget for all, a budget for growth, a budget that is inclusive, and a budget that will take India from today, the 5th largest economy, to the 3rd largest economy by the year 2030, a budget that will cement India's leadership role on the global stage, be it leadership during the COVID era, be it leadership with regard to the green agenda for the world, be it leadership as India holds the presidency of the G20, a never thought possible idea which today has been made possible by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's leadership on the world stage. Thank you very much.
सर परंदूर एयरपोर्ट का तमिलनाडु में परंदूर एयरपोर्ट है ना, उसका बारे में बताइए.
So I अंग्रेजी में बोलूं या हिंदी?
अंग्रेजी में बोलिए.
Okay. So I have today is a very important day for Chennai as well. We have just inaugurated the Aero Hub, multi-level car parking facility at the Chennai airport. This is a 250 crore investment by the Airports Authority of India. We will almost have 2,150 car parking facility along with 4,000 bikes. Tremendous capabilities, 3-star green rating on JHA, building management facilities, electrical vehicle charging facilities, and computerized parking facilities that will allow the customers to see in red which car spots are occupied and green which car spots are vacant. This will lead to a new thrust with regard to convenience and facilitation for our passengers. Along with this, we are also looking at the expansion of the current Chennai airport, where Airports Authority of India is making close to 2,500 crore investment in 2 phases, wherein we hope to increase today's Chennai's airport's throughput capability from 23 million, which is 2.3 crore, to 35 million, which is 3.5 crores. The first phase will be ready by end of March, early April this year. Almost close to, with the 2 phases, almost close. We also have an ambitious program for Parandu, where the proposal has come from the TIDCO. It is being examined within the ministry, the Airports Authority of India and DGCA. And let me commit that we are fully and completely committed to building the new greenfield airport in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai as well. We are in talks. If there are any queries that need to be answered, we will send that to TIDCO, and we will very quickly move down that path so as to have a new greenfield airport facility in Chennai as well.
So, people are getting protest over there by day they are continuing for.
Sorry?
The people over Parandu, they are making a protest for the long day.
That is something that you will have to, that is a question you will have to ask the state government.
Is there any...
Our job is to look at the 2 stages of approval. One is the site approval and the second is the in-principle approval. With regard to land acquisition and with regard to developing that airport, that is the responsibility of the state government, so your question should be directed to the state government.
Does the government has mentioned anything about that to you? Is there any issue like regarding...
As I mentioned, that is the responsibility of the state government. Introduced last year a small aircraft scheme for only sub-20-seater aircrafts. So not ATRs, not Boeings, not Airbuses, not big 787s and 777s and Airbus 350s, but small aircrafts, sub-20-seaters, so that the penetration down to the grassroots level, whether it is through aircraft or helicopters. So we've got a lot of routes functioning in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, in Jammu Kashmir, in northeast states. Advanced landing grounds on the border of Arunachal Pradesh have been activated. We've taken our Made in India Dorniers and we've started doing the routes right up till the border areas in Arunachal Pradesh. So therefore, 100% saturation, 100% penetration is the mantra of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that must encompass every state across the length and breadth of India. One more thing I will add, I have requested the state government to, in order to make sure that this dream of greater penetration becomes a reality in Tamil Nadu, I have requested the government to reduce the VAT on air turbine fuel. Tamil Nadu is one of the only few states left in India that still charges a very high rate of VAT of 29% on ATF. When you reduce the VAT on ATF, that increases flight connectivity into a state. That also will lead to greater number of airlines refueling in that state. because the fuel becomes cheaper. And let me give you a case in point. 1.5 years ago, we had 12 states in India that charged VAT between 1 to 4%, and 24 states in India that charge VAT between 20 to 30%. With our continued dialogue with all states, with our continued fervent appeal with folded hands with state governments, I would like to thank the Chief Minister